Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Sorin and welcome back to phase 2 of this video. Today we're gonna talk about is the top of the tree worth it for the Jagdpanzer E100. Um, Looking at the tech tree, we're gonna start off with a tier 5 all the way to the tier 10, the Jagdpanzer E100. This is a tier 10 super heavy tank destroyer with the highest penetration in the game on it hit rounds of 420 millimeters. It is a slow, it has the damage potential, but it might not be for everyone. So let's start this video off right at the tier 5 with the Stug 3G. Personally, I feel like this vehicle is very underrated. Obviously, it's a tier 5, so a lot of people are not playing it. But 150 meters of average penetration with decent DPM and decent gun. I mean, the gun is very accurate for tier 5. You feel like you're hitting more than you will do in a tier 10 with 5 skill, because I play this vehicle with like 75% crew till I get Nashorn and Jagdpanzer. But obviously it's a tier 5, you are really sneaky, no view range, so binoculars, gun rammer, and what you want to use, like a turbocharger probably, I don't even know. It's a tier 5, but I feel like it's one of the underdog in tier 5. Obviously, as I mentioned, it has a really good gun. But armor, it's not holding up, probably some hit rounds, the low penetration howitzers, and so on and so forth, but yeah, don't rely on it. Next, the tier 6. It's actually a very good vehicle. With the top gun, with the tier 7 gun, you have 2444 average damage. That is stock. If you preview this vehicle, you can see it's very short and probably has a good concealment, and yeah, it does have really good concealment stock. Let's actually put the best things in this vehicle. Let's actually pump up the engine. As you can see, 2550 hit DPM in a tier 6. It's outrageous. If you have a dog to farm, if you have anything to farm in front of you, yeah, this vehicle is a perfect thing to dish out damage. But 12 degrees to the left, to the right, it's kind of small gun arc, so obviously you have to turn a lot, so you better focus on the targets before they make a push play, so you are already aimed in and ready to shoot. In terms of the damage, 220, it's average for this kind of tier 6 with 220. Obviously you have good penetration, 145 and 194 on your APCRs. It's a bit low for a tank destroyer, to be honest, but it is what it is. Though you have really good dispersion, really good aiming time, and all things that are focusing on the gun. If you manage to put the rammer with food and everything, you're gonna pump up over 3000 DPM, having that 4.5 second reload. No one is gonna stood that much in front of you. Obviously, you can get one shot by the big howitzer. 700 hit points is not the most, and you want to be sneaky, so I recommend probably using like binoculars, gun rammer, and exhaust system if you really want, but it is up to your aiming unit or anything like that. As I mentioned, the mobility is pretty good for this vehicle. 40 km it's a bit on the downside, and 12 reversing it's kind of slow, but obviously if you have the brain to play this vehicle and you're sneaky and you're 1 minute, or actually 1 second before your enemies, that should be the perfect vehicle seal clubber for you at tier 6. Going back to the tech tree, we have at the tier 7, we have obviously the Jagdpanzer, and this vehicle has plenty of guns, to be honest. We are starting off with the Stug gun that you get at tier 5, obviously the Jagdpanzer 4 gun, and after that, well, this is the same gun as you get on the Nashorn, which is a tier 6, on the Ferdinand, that is then tank next, the Jagdpanzer 2, which is, I think, from the Nashorn or something like that. But yeah, if you already have the vehicles research, like the Nashorn with a good gun and the Jagdpanzer 2, it is actually no, the Jagdpanzer 2, it's a collector vehicle. So yeah, if you already have that, you are starting off with a decent gun, but the top gun, the 105mm, it is outrageous. You have really good damage per shot, 220. You have decent DPM, you have decent aiming time, decent dispersion, and the tank can occasionally block some shells, but you don't really want to rely on the armor. Obviously, it's sloped, it's 80 millimeter. So if you are gonna use your gun depression, which is 8 degrees, that's actually good gun depression. That should be a good vehicle. Obviously, you get more hit points as you go up the tier, but still 850. It's, I think, on the average side of tier 8, of the tier 7, sorry. Mobility, horsepower per ton is a bit down. The top speed is increased from the previous tier. The concealment is half one of the Jagdpanzer 4, and obviously the view range is still the same. So maybe you still want to use binoculars, which is a bit a shame. So binoculars, um, obviously the rammer, and either aiming unit, either a turbocharger, or either something to increase your camo. But without further ado, this vehicle, it's once again, it's very solid. So this tech tree is starting off as being very solid. What is not very solid? It is the Ferdinand. You have flat armor. You're starting off with a really bad gun, and it takes you a bit of time to get to the 128 millimeters, um, which is once again shared with the Jagdpanzer 2. So if you want to, to not have a bad gun, you buy the Jagdpanzer 2, and you play bad in it. You get all the experience, and you get yourself a full Ferdinand, so you don't have to put your team at a disadvantage. Why is that? Because this vehicle, starting off with the gun, obviously the top gun, it's very nice. You have decent DPM. Obviously, you have a Scorpion G gun. Reload, 8 degrees of gun depression. You can say that this tank is flexible, but so the upper structure is 200 millimeters. This thing it's 100, 100, and obviously you have those 80 millimeters weak points, which are penetratable by some HE rounds, like the BZ, like Caliban, and everything like that. So yeah, the vehicle has 1500 hit points, which is nearly double the tier 7. Um, it weighs quite a bit, and it has a very weak engine. If you put the top engine, the pop to ratio is roughly 12.6, which is not the best. On top of that, you have the top speed is 30 kilometers, which is once again not the best. Concealment is not the best because this tank it's kind of boxy and big, and 370 meters view range. It is starting to get a bit better. Now starting off with the field modification. What we want to see, it is like that. Actually, how do you get a field modification? I forgot. Oh yeah, there it is. If you max it out, you get obviously the reinforced suspension to have better track help, because this vehicle it can be either a sniper or you can play with heavies and be like a brawler. What we're gonna use, it's obviously improve aiming, and I think the 2% what is this? 2% view range is gonna help you. Obviously, maybe you want to use optics, you want to use hardening on this vehicle, rammer, or a turbocharger. Those are very good. Or if you just want to snipe, once again, aiming unit can be good. Next, the tank that I'm currently at, it is the Jag Tiger. And personally, I really like the Jag Tiger. 2100 hit points, it's for a tank destroyer, it's very good. You have plenty of hit points, you have even more than more heavy tanks at tier 10, mediums, and so on and so forth. You have one of the best guns that I saw on a tank destroyer, well, pretty much the best. The 128 millimeter, which is the same as a 128 millimeters in terms of caliber, but you obviously have 560 alpha damage. And if you ask me, 560 alpha damage, it's very, very decent. Why is that? Because obviously you reload in 10 seconds. And what does that mean? It's the perfect time, because you can get enemies get spotted for 10 seconds. So you shoot, you get spotted, you pull back, and after like once you're loaded, you can just pick the push again and do 560. Because the gun has really good penetration, 276 on AP with 1200 meters shell velocity. That is very respectable for sniping. And if you find yourself firing at a mouse or a Jagdpanzer 100 or anything, 352 meters of APCRs should be decent. On top of that, 1500 meters shell velocity is very good for sniping. On top of that, the HE rounds can do 700 damage if they penetrate, with obviously the good shell velocity and 65 meters of HE pen, which is enough to penetrate some tanks' rear, some sides, and some paper armor. Yeah, with my setup 3500 DPM, it is outrageous. It's 3000 stock. The dispersion is very good. The aiming time is good. You have minus 7.5 degrees of gun depression, which is still very decent. I mean, all this line gets 7 to 8 degrees of gun depression, which is really respectable, and it's flexible. What is not very flexible about this tank is the armor. It's penetrable into in the upper structure with 250. The mantle, it's bouncy. If someone is gonna hit you in the mantle, they are gonna ricochet off or not penetrate. And everything like this, it's 170, 170. So FE405s can penetrate H rounds into your upper plate, which is not very good. What else to say? The tank is very slow, a 10 per specific power to weight ratio. Do I have the last engine on it? Yeah, it does look like it's an yes. 10 horsepower per ton. That is very slow. That's kind of motion in terms of the performance, but once you go downhill, you can go with 38 km an hour top speed with my setup with a turbocharger. With the concealment, yeah, this tank is very huge, it's very boxy, and you'll not have the best concealment. So with the concealment crew, you can get up to 25%, and the view range is once again, I think, 390 meters view range, which is starting to get better. Yeah, this is my setup. I play this tank with an aiming unit, with a turbocharger and hardening, and once I will research the Jagdpanzer 100, I probably will have the second setup with a hardening turbocharger and the rammer, because this thing can play as a heavy, and I recommend playing this vehicle as a heavy or a sniper depending on your choice, but it can do both, and this is why I love this vehicle for the moment. In terms of this, I'm gonna buy the Jagdpanzer right now because I have enough things. And the last but not least, the Jag. Actually, no, I forget to mention about the field modification, of course. Once you max it out, obviously reinforced suspension. Aiming, once again, you can go down to 0.28 dispersion. Actually, no, accuracy. With food, I think you can get it down to 0.27. With bond something or bounty, can get it even lower, but who wants that accuracy in World of Tanks? Probably you want to put some V-range on this vehicle because you don't want to invest everything into V-range. And the second thing I actually would recommend on this one, it's 3% reloading speed. Obviously you have you have a lot of hit points, so sparing 20 once you get it full to get yourself like 100 DPM sounds like a good deal to me. And obviously you get to the point where you have the same rate of fire with some vehicle that have 400 alpha damage, like heavy tanks like the T10, the A phase 1, 50-60p. You're out trading him in terms of the DPM and stuff like that. So yeah, the Jack Tiger is a gem for me for the moment. But last but not least, it's the Jagdpanzer E100. What is disappointing, the minus 6 degrees of gun depression, but what is very nice about this vehicle, 1050 alpha damage with 299 penetration and 420 of hit round. That's outrageous. But if you find the squishy target, you can do HE damage of 1400 with 85 liters of HE pen, which is outrageous. I cannot wait to get this vehicle and have some memes around. But the vehicle itself, yeah, obviously you want to invest everything into. You might not want to use a gun rammer, but we want to use an aiming unit and everything that makes you connect the shell, because who cares if you reload 2 seconds faster if you cannot hit the targets that you're shooting. But yeah, the vehicle is reloading very slow compared to its predecessor, and it does have an average damage per minute. But obviously, everything about that, the gun traverse is limited to 8 degrees, whereas previous vehicle had 11, 12. So yeah, the Jagdpanzer, it doesn't look that special anymore. It looks like the Jagdtiger, the Jagdpanzer, the tier 7 looked very good at their tier compared to this one. Compared to the tier 9, you get 100 extra hit points, which is a bit less. You get angle support structure and the U100 hull that can occasionally bounce some shells. And obviously, if you if you put your self tank up a bit of a slope, you're gonna get a decent angle on your super structure, and you can bounce some 330, 340 hit runs, but not effectively enough. In terms of mobility, it is kind of the same mobility as the predecessor, but now you weigh 134 tons. So if you get the chance, just ram on someone, because with a turbocharger or mobility system, you can go quite quick. You can go 35, 36 kilometer an hour, but yeah, obviously you are not gonna be the fastest around the map. You still got 390 meters view range, which is less and one of the worst camouflage. And if I thought that the Jagdpanzer had really bad camo, yeah, this vehicle doesn't look like it doesn't have any at all. Let's max this vehicle out a bit, and let's see what this vehicle has to offer. Obviously, because you can play it as a heavy once again, or a heavy support vehicle, the suspension, you can want to actually the aiming time it's a bit big, so probably it's either you want to you want to lower the aiming time, or either you want to use anything of that. Obviously the view range, because the concealment is non-existent after firing, because it's 170 millimeters of main armament, and on top of that, obviously you can just with the last field modification, pretty much you get free -3 seconds reload, which obviously, as I mentioned earlier, it does give it a slight advantage. As you can see in this case, nearly 1 second of its reload. And the last but not least, I think you want to go a bit faster with the engine power, giving it a bit of repair speed, because obviously you're gonna go 2 km an hour reverse speed. It's gonna be slower, but if you put a turbocharger on it, the what's that, the aiming circle, the turbocharger, where it is, the turbocharger, and what's gonna be the this one is gonna be solidity. So improved hardening is gonna be the second slot, and obviously the last not least, the turbocharger can be in this case, or if you're gonna play you know, for a sniper role, you can put rammer or anything on among those pieces of equipment. But yeah, personally I don't really invest that much into the reverse speed. Why is that? Because I kind of calculate my movements, so if you are kind of catched off guard, you don't want to use the last you don't want to use this. You want to use the one that is lowering your engine power, but you get 14 km an hour. With the extra 2 from the turbo, you get 16. So yeah, make sure that you make your choices depending on all of your gameplay style and performance. But this was the video. Probably the line is not perfect for you, because obviously, as I mentioned, with the 140 it's more suitable towards everyone. This one is very slow, and it's a more, I mean, you're a non-turreted tank. This is where you get tracked, you die. And this was the video, guys. Hopefully it was informative, hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll leave you legends for another video. Bye bye.